When you first start riding, you think the hard part is over. You passed the test, you bought the bike, and you know how to use the clutch. But the truth is, the lessons they teach you in a parking lot are nothing compared to the rules the road teaches you. These aren't just tips, they're the hard-won secrets you only learn after a costly mistake, a close call, or a moment of pure frustration that makes you wish someone had just told you sooner. 1. The simple mistake that can trap you. Park facing out. Every new rider has done it. You pull into a great parking spot at a coffee shop or a scenic overlook. You nose the bike straight in because it's quick and easy. You shut it off, feeling proud. Then, an hour later, it's time to leave. You realize the spot that looked flat is actually on a slight downhill slope. Now, you're trapped. You have to try and push 500 pounds of metal backward, uphill, using only your leg strength while weaving between cars. It's awkward, it's exhausting, and it's a moment where you're very likely to drop your bike in front of a crowd. Motorcycles don't have a reverse gear unless you're on a giant gold wing. When you park nose first into a spot, especially one on a hill or with loose gravel, you are setting a trap for your future self. You're forced to do the clumsy duck walk, waddling the bike backward while trying to balance and feather the clutch. You can't see what's behind you, and you feel completely out of control. It's one of the most common and embarrassing mistakes a rider can make, and it's entirely preventable. The new rule you learn right after that first sweaty, frustrating experience is simple. Always back your bike into a parking spot. It takes an extra 30 seconds when you arrive, but it makes leaving a breeze. When it's time to go, you can just get on, start it up, and ride straight out with full visibility and control. It doesn't matter if the ground is flat, sloped, or covered in gravel. Backing in is always the smarter, safer, and cooler way to park. It's the first sign of a rider who has learned from experience. But being able to leave your parking spot safely is just the start. Making sure your bike is actually safe to ride begins with two simple things most people ignore: the air in your tires. 2. The 2-minute check that can save your ride. Tire pressure. Tire pressure seems like such a small, boring detail. It's the kind of thing you tell yourself you'll check next time. And that's why almost every rider has, at some point, gone out for a ride and felt that something was just off. The bike feels mushy in corners, it wants to fight you on the handlebars, or it just feels unstable. You're either slipping in a turn or feeling every single bump in the road like a hammer blow. By the time you realize the problem, your ride has already been compromised. This isn't just about comfort, it's about safety and money. When your tires are underinflated, the sides of the tire flex too much. This kills your handling, making the bike feel sluggish and unresponsive. It also builds up a ton of heat, which can damage the tire and wear it out incredibly fast. Overinflated tires are just as bad. They create a smaller contact patch with the road, which means you have less grip for braking and cornering. It makes the ride harsh and unforgiving. Both mistakes will chew up your expensive tires much faster than you think. More importantly, incorrect pressure changes how your bike brakes, how your suspension works, and how it handles unexpected things like wind gusts or bumps in the road. On bikes without a fancy tire pressure monitoring system, it's incredibly easy to neglect. But once you finally check your tires and inflate them properly after weeks of riding on them when they are low, the difference is night and day. The bike will feel sharper, smoother, and safer. The rule is simple and takes just 2 minutes. Check your tire pressure at least once a week and always before a long ride. Keep a small, reliable pressure gauge in your garage or in your bike's toolkit. It's a tiny habit that will save you from bad handling, premature tire wear, and potentially a dangerous blowout at high speed. 3. The noisy, grimy part that controls your ride. The chain. Your motorcycle's chain is one of its most important and most neglected parts. It is the literal link that takes all the power from your engine and delivers it to your back wheel. Yet countless riders will go for weeks or even months without giving it a second thought. They only notice it when it starts making a horrible grinding noise, starts skipping over the sprocket teeth, or, in a worst-case scenario, snaps completely. A dry, loose, or dirty chain does more than just make noise. It directly affects how your bike feels to ride. When your chain is too loose, your throttle will feel sloppy and jerky. Shifting gears can feel rough and clunky. The rear wheel can even lurch or bind up in the middle of a turn if the chain is in really bad shape. That's not just annoying, it's dangerous. And that's before we even talk about the risk of the chain breaking entirely, which can lock up your rear wheel instantly or whip around and smash a hole in your engine case. Taking care of your own bike's maintenance is crucial. But what about when you're riding a bike that isn't yours, or one that just came back from the shop? That's when you learn the next hard lesson. Enjoying the video? Consider liking and subscribing. It helps out us small creators. Back to the video. 4. The dangerous assumption. Someone else checked it. This rule catches more riders than you'd think, and it can have terrifying consequences. It happens when you borrow a friend's bike, rent a motorcycle on vacation, or even pick up your own bike from the dealership after a service. You get on, start it up, and ride off, assuming that a professional mechanic or a responsible friend has already made sure everything is safe and ready to go. That assumption is a huge gamble. The hard truth is that people make mistakes. Mechanics at busy shops can forget to tighten a bolt. A friend might not know their tire pressure is dangerously low. A rental company might have rushed the prep on your bike to get it out the door faster. If you don't do your own quick pre-ride check, you are riding blind, trusting your life to someone else's work. This rule is especially important when you're looking to buy a used bike, which brings us to another hard lesson about trusting what you see. 5. The Siren song of the great deal. When you're new to riding or just on a tight budget, the temptation of a cheap used bike is almost impossible to resist. You're scrolling through online marketplaces and you see it. A cool-looking bike, an older model with supposedly low miles, and a price so low you can't believe your eyes. You think, I could buy this right now and still have money left over for new gear. But what you don't see is the financial landmine you're about to step on. Cheap bikes are almost never cheap for no reason. That amazing deal is often hiding a history of neglect, deferred maintenance, or even damage that has been patched up just enough to look good for a quick sale. The seller might tell you it just needs a new battery, when in reality, the entire electrical system is a mess. That low price tag is often the down payment on a very expensive and frustrating rescue project. A cheap bike can be a trap, but some sellers have even sneakier tricks up their sleeves, using a simple act of kindness to hide a major problem. 6. The sneaky favor, a full tank of gas on a used bike. You're looking at a used bike, and the seller says with a friendly smile, I even filled up the tank for you. At first, this sounds like a wonderful, thoughtful gesture, but to a seasoned rider, a full tank of gas during a sale isn't a favor. It's a giant red flag. A full tank of fuel can be used to hide a multitude of sins. First, it prevents you from properly inspecting the inside of the gas tank. You can't shine a flashlight in to look for rust, sediment, or a failing tank liner. Rust in the tank is a major problem that can clog your fuel system and cause the bike to run terribly. A full tank conveniently hides all that evidence from view. Second, fresh gasoline can temporarily mask problems. If the bike has been sitting for a long time with old, stale gas in it, it will run poorly. A seller might drain the old gas and fill it with fresh fuel right before you arrive. The bike will start up and seem to run fine on your short test ride, but the underlying problems in the carburetor or fuel injectors caused by the old gas are still there, waiting to reappear once you get it home. Being tricked by a seller is frustrating, but some of the biggest dangers on the road come from the decisions we make ourselves long before we even get to a stoplight. 7. The invisible enemy, drivers who look right at you. This is the first rule they teach you in any motorcycle safety course, but you don't truly, deeply believe it until it happens to you. You're approaching an intersection. A car is waiting to turn left in front of you. The driver looks right at you. You make direct eye contact. You think, great, they see me. And then they pull out right in front of you as if you were completely invisible. In that terrifying moment, you learn the most important rule of survival on a motorcycle. Always assume the driver does not see you, even when they look right at you. Seeing you and registering you are two different things. A driver's brain is wired to look for other cars. Our motorcycles are small and narrow, and we can easily get lost in the background of everything else going on. A driver can look in your direction, but if their brain isn't actively searching for a motorcycle, it will often just edit you out of the picture. This is called inattentional blindness, and it's why so many motorcycle accidents happen at intersections. Knowing that you need to be ready for anything is one thing, but being physically able to react is another, which is why the next rule is so critical. 8. The skill you can't wait to learn. Emergency braking. Ask any rider what they'll do in a panic stop, and they'll probably say, I'll grab the brakes and hold on. But unless you have actually practiced what an emergency stop feels like, your brain and body have no idea how to handle it. Learning how to brake hard in the middle of a real emergency is a recipe for disaster. Too many riders have never truly felt what maximum braking feels like. They've never experienced the front suspension diving hard under the load, or how quickly the rear wheel can get light and even lock up. They don't know where the limit of their tire grip is. So when a car suddenly cuts them off, their instincts take over. They either grab a giant fistful of front brake, locking the wheel and sending them sliding down the pavement, or just as dangerously, they don't brake hard enough because they are afraid of locking the wheel. Being able to stop is critical, but sometimes the danger isn't what's in front of you, but what's inside your own head. 9. the impairment everyone ignores. Riding while tired. Everyone knows that riding a motorcycle after drinking is incredibly stupid and dangerous. But there is another type of impairment that is just as deadly and far more common. Riding while fatigued. You think to yourself, I'm just a little tired. I'll be fine once I get on the road. And for the first few miles, you might be. But then the fatigue starts to set in quietly. You miss a downshift. You space out at a red light and forget you're there. You forget to cancel your turn signal for miles. Or worse, you forget to do a head check before changing lanes. Fatigue doesn't hit you like a wall. It slowly eats away at your focus and reaction time. On a motorcycle, where a split-second decision can mean the difference between avoiding an accident and being in one, riding tired is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Studies have shown that being severely sleep-deprived can impair your judgment and reaction time just as much as being drunk. Your risk tolerance changes without you even realizing it. You might start following cars too closely or entering corners too fast. Unlike in a car, you don't have a metal cage and airbags to protect you from a mistake caused by a tired brain. This is especially dangerous on long road trips, when you try to push for just one more hour, even though your body is screaming at you to stop. Fatigue is an internal danger, but the world around you can throw its own curveballs, which is why the next rule is so important for any rider who ventures more than a few miles from home. 10. The lie you tell yourself. The forecast looks fine. You wake up ready for a beautiful day of riding. You check the weather app on your phone. It says, sunny skies and a 10% chance of rain. Perfect. You throw on a t-shirt and your riding jacket and head out without a single piece of rain gear or an extra layer. 3 hours later, you are 50 miles from home, completely soaked, shivering, and miserable, learning a valuable lesson about that 10% chance. Every single rider has been burned by trusting the weather forecast. On a motorcycle, getting caught in unexpected weather isn't just an inconvenience. It can be downright dangerous. When you're wet and cold, your body gets tired much faster. Your focus wanders. Your visor fogs up, destroying your visibility. The roads become slick. A fun ride quickly turns into a miserable survival mission. The hard-learned rule is to always pack for the worst-case scenario, even if the forecast is perfect. This doesn't mean you need to wear a snowsuit in July. It just means being prepared. Stash a lightweight, packable rain suit in your backpack or saddlebag. It takes up almost no space and can be a lifesaver. Being prepared for the weather is smart, but sometimes the silliest mistakes are the ones we make right before we even start riding. 11. The Gassy mistake. Everyone makes once. Topping off the tank. You're at the gas station, filling up your bike. The pump clicks off, signaling that the tank is full, but you decide to squeeze in just a little bit more. You want every last drop you can get, right? You put the cap back on, hop on the bike, and ride away. A few blocks later, you smell a strong odor of gasoline. You look down and see fuel leaking from the overflow tube, dripping all over your hot engine and dangerously close to your rear tire. You've just learned the hard way that you should never top off your motorcycle's gas tank. That little air gap at the top of the tank is there for a reason. It's not wasted space, it's an expansion chamber. As your bike runs and the day gets warmer, the gasoline in your tank expands. If there is no room for it to expand, it has to go somewhere, and that somewhere is usually out of the overflow vent. At best, this is messy and makes you smell like a gas station. At worst, it's incredibly dangerous. Spilling gasoline onto a hot engine or exhaust pipe is an obvious fire hazard. Getting gasoline on your rear tire can make it slick and cause you to lose traction in a corner. On modern bikes with emissions control systems, overfilling the tank can also flood the charcoal canister, which can cause the bike to run poorly, stall, or be difficult to start. These small habits can save you a lot of trouble. And our final rule is about the quiet details that are easy to forget until they cause a very big problem. 12. The quiet expiration dates that can cause chaos. It's easy to get focused on the bike itself, checking the oil, tires, and chain. But some of the most important things that keep you safe and legal are the ones that expire quietly in a drawer or on a shelf. We're talking about your motorcycle license, your insurance card, your bike's registration, and yes, even your helmet. Countless riders have been pulled over for a minor traffic violation only to find themselves in huge trouble because they didn't realize their registration or insurance had lapsed a week ago. The penalties for these administrative mistakes can be severe, including huge fines and even having your bike impounded. Nobody starts out knowing all these unwritten rules. You learn them one by one, usually after a frustrating, expensive, or scary experience. But you don't have to learn everything the hard way. So, what's the one rule you wish someone had told you when you first started riding? Let us know in the comments, smash that like, and subscribe for more.